Hi, I'm Keith with On Target Canada. Today we're back with Stu in his workshop. Stu, good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
We're going to switch gears a little bit. We do a lot of stuff on handguns and modern day, I almost said assault weapons. Horrible. Modern day military rifles. But we're going to go to a shotgun here, which has a military history as well. It may look like a standard pump shotgun, but it's what, over 120 years old at this point.
That, yes.
Design-wise, anyway, if not this particular gun. Can you tell us what we're looking at?
Sure. This here is a Winchester Model 97, as in 1897 shotgun. You'll probably notice some features here that are sort of unique to shotguns, generally speaking. It's got an external hammer, for instance. It's got a heat shield, and it's got a bayonet stud on it, because this has been dressed up for fighting trench gun. This one here was made in 1944 and was brought back to North America via, I think, a warehouse in Vietnam.
Interesting. So by trench gun, the original designation was it was something that could be used in the trenches of World War I, so short barrel. Obviously a shotgun would be perfect in that type of environment, 12 gauge. And it would have been up there along with the introduction of small smaller weapons that can be easily manipulated around in that close environment.
Exactly.
And they also gave way to what would have become close quarter combat fighting type of weapons in built up areas and stuff like that. It does have a unique look. One of the interesting things is the way the ejection area is here and how it's open with the action on the bolt and everything. There's a sling that comes with it. Obviously all military weapons are slung at some point for those long marches. It also has what I would call a short sword.
Yes, yes. But back then, I think bayonets, this is actually one of the shorter bayonets because the SMLE bayonets were actually, if I remember correctly, a touch longer than the bayonets for what the Americans use are the 1903s and the trench gun. What's kind of neat about this is that what they've done is that they've added two little marks on the sides of the bayonets so you can see at a distinction, what it's for.
Oh, okay.
And this is more importantly for the Commonwealth bayonets, because what happens is, again, in World War I we use a Ross rifle, we use the SMLE, the Mark IIIs. What happened was we also used the P14, which was a bolt-action American rifle in the caliber .303. So it's very important that it was designated so that people wouldn't grab the wrong bayonet and try to fix it on that rifle.
Excellent. And this is a single edge?
Yes, it is.
And again, almost a short sword and stamped with U.S. Ordnance markings on it and a date, 1917. Very, very cool. So we're going to take a look at this, how it comes apart, and a little bit more on how it's built. Okay, time to take a look at the shotgun here. Stu, let's take a look at the basic, how you strip it down, reassemble, and then after that we'll look at a couple interesting little features this one has.
Sure, no problem. Okay, first of all, I'm just going to double check. Action's clear. Let the hammer go forward. And unfortunately, this here isn't as simple as all the other ones we've had.
So you actually require some tools for this one.
That is correct, because you can easily clean it with a brush and all that sort of stuff, but if it fell in the mud or something happened to it, where you had to go deeper into it, you actually would have to take it apart.
So at this point, the shotgun shells that would have been used early 1900s, were they not black powder shells at the time? They progressed on to regular.
Yeah, that's correct. But you'd have either paper hulls or they would have full brass hulls as well. And the reason for the full brass ones is that in trench warfare, they found that the paper would swell with moisture.
Moisture, right.
And there, with those 3 screws out, your front sight and your heat shield would be removed. And from there, quarter turn, your slide and your magazine tube would come out. And a quarter turn more, your barrel will come out.
Now, can you get the breech assembly out to clean that, or is that in there?
Yes, you can. It's just been a while, and you have to take a couple screws and it would pop right out.
So again, a little bit more advanced.
Yes.
But if you had to get in there, because again, not that World War I was known as a muddy place, but in the odd chance that you got some mud in there,
Exactly.
you'd have to take it apart. Excellent. So putting it back together, same basic steps?
Same basic steps. Again, you can see the barrel interrupted thread. Pops in, locks into place. The slide goes in.
Same there with an interrupted thread as well.
Exactly. And I just do a quick check and whoops. Make sure she's all in, locked into place.
I find with shotguns, especially pumps, there's a lot of alignment things that you have to get properly lined up for it to work.
Exactly. I think we have everything lined up right. It's just the slide itself. There we go. Has to be engaged.
So you can see that even sometimes people who are very well versed in firearms can be, well, let's put temporarily outfoxed by them.
Well, that's what happens when you don't take them apart, put them back together enough times, you know.
And to be fair, if you're not handling them constantly and you're not constantly doing it, you can lose the feel of where things have to be when you're doing assemblies like that. So once these screws are in place, that's pretty much the shotgun reassembled. But you were showing me and telling me about a couple little interesting things that not only make unloading it easier, but can make firing it a little bit more interesting, especially if you're in a emergency situation where you got to get a lot of lead down range very quickly.
Exactly. So I'll show the loading of the shotgun. We'll pop 4 in. And if you have to get them out real fast, you got these two little buttons here. They're basically your shell catch levers. But if you push them, the shell catch levers will then move out of the way of your cartridges, and then you can dump them pretty quick. The other fact about this shotgun, which a lot of people know about, is the fact being that you can keep your trigger finger depressed and the gun will fire as soon as you cycle it forward. So right now is in the cocked fashion. I can squeeze the trigger, put my finger off the trigger, cycle it, and the hammer goes to the rear. I can then, if I want to, depress the trigger, keep the trigger depressed, cycle it to the rear, cycle it forward, and as I cycle it forward, and once it goes in battery and locks, the hammer falls forward. And you can do that until you run out of ammunition in your magazine tube.
Now, I've done a little bit of watching of these cowboy competition shooters, And I'm assuming that the way they're able to fire the shotgun that quickly when they're dealing with these old late 1800 shotguns is they have the same feature.
Most likely, yes. And
So they're firing a lighter load, but they're also firing it where they don't have to keep pulling the trigger. They just cycle the action as many times as they need to.
Exactly. And the shotgun you probably saw was in 1897 as well, because again, 1897s would be around the cowboy era as well.
Very good. Stu, thank you very much for showing us this unique shotgun, and I look forward to what else you can bring to us in the future.
Sure.